them this way and I'll be saying the yada yada yada, and they'll just be completely like this, and so we're just like talking like this, and it looks crazy, absolutely crazy. What's up everybody, it's your boy Matt Turner back again with another video. First things first, thank you guys for all of the support. We're almost at 100 subs. I can't believe you guys, you're doing amazing. If you haven't seen my last video, I did two. I released them both just recently. Over here, well actually I can't do that, but go check them out. One's a fitness video for my new Fitness for Beginners series. I hope you guys really enjoy that one because I really love fitness and I have a passion for it. The other one was on some updates about what I didn't expect and what I did get from a year on testosterone. But today's video was requested quite some time ago. I know you guys are probably like, Matt, boy, what are you doing? Why is this so late? It's been like weeks. But I had a lot of ideas come into play and I was just like, I gotta get these out now because I'm not gonna remember them. Plus I wanted some time to kind of like think about what I actually wanted to say for this video. But here is the video that you guys requested on like male workplace relationships, as well as just what I have experienced in terms of building relationships with men and the things that I was just not expecting. But without further ado, let's get to the video. If you're watching this video, you probably are not quite, you don't really know like how to navigate, like, or maybe you do, I don't know you, what am I saying? But like, you're just here to understand my perspective on male relationships and how they're formed and things of that sort. This is specifically from my experience, and so with this you have to take into account a few different things, such as, for me, most of the male relationships I have in my life, especially like casual friendships, are at my workplace. And so my workplace has a lot of younger guys. So I'm 22, next year turning 23. These guys are like 20 max. So the relationship is going to be a little bit, the way we like interact and stuff is going to be a little bit different. There are a few older people, so I'm going to split up kind of how I interact with them versus how I interact with the younger men that I work with. And then I'm going to give you guys some tips and tricks and all the fun jazz thing. So right off the back, one thing that I was not expecting about building relationships and kind of becoming part of like this male culture at work, which I really hate, is how much of it is like rooted, well, it's not like rooted, but how frequent female attractiveness comes up. So with this, this does change based on like what industry you're in and everything like that. Obviously it's very prominent where I work because I work at a gym, and of course people love going to the gym to pick up people and like talk and like be like, look at my big muscles and things like that. So whatever. But it's the amount of it that occurs, and especially considering that I'm already in a relationship, it was just overwhelming, just kind of like how prominent and frequent it comes up. Now this is different between the younger guys and the older guys. The guys who are older, who are roughly my age and above, are usually they're already in a relationship, and they're very established and they've kind of toned down. So female attractiveness isn't quite like as common. Obviously there's nothing wrong with being like, wow, you're like really freaking hot or anything like that, but like it's more subtle, it's more relaxed, it's just kind of like a subtle appreciation of beauty. Whereas with the younger guys that I work with, it's very much kind of like, oh bro, did you see like that girl, she was like fine, and there's a bond that's created through this. Like you kind of begin to kind of talk about like, oh, your preferences, sadly, the things that I don't really like about it is kind of like ranking like the different women. As much as I hate this, I have been a participant in this, but generally it's because I am trying to be argumentative and I love debating. So yeah, do as I say, not as I do, but it does come up pretty frequently. So I'm very mindful of that. I'm obviously all for like women's rights. I actually really hate the idea of the fact that like a lot of women will come into the gym and like it kind of aggravates me because I know they don't know, but they do know that this type of stuff is going on, and I don't think that like women should have to, you know, deal with going to the gym and having to deal with douchebags and when they're just there to work out and be fit just like anybody else. So that's one thing that I did not expect, that I was really hoping wasn't going to be as common as it actually is, but in fact is as common, more common than I really wanted it to be. So yeah, if you are a really strong feminist, or like you really support like women's rights and like women's equality and just the whole thing, but not like being a douchebag about it, but like genuinely supporting equality all across the board, then like this might be a thing that ticks you off. It ticked me off in the beginning, but you kind of just learn to build up a kind of like skin for it. You kind of just sort of like, oh, you begin to realize that it's not everybody. It's definitely mostly younger guys when like puberty and all this crazy nonsense is still going through people's heads. But you just kind of like take it for what it is, and then you do what you can to, you know, alleviate the stress that other people might be putting on society. Thing that I was not expecting, but like really, so for me growing up, I grew up mainly, it's actually really weird. When I was very, very young, I grew up mostly around men and younger boys and things like that. So I was very much a tomboy. I was like always wrestling, always roughhousing. I was like playing in mud, things like that. But as I grew older, my friendship circle definitely began to kind of be more female populated. And so with that does come like some taught and socialized ways of going about talking. So one thing that I wasn't expecting is how men don't really face each other when they talk, and that kind of took some getting used to. So like for instance, one guy will be like talking to you and they'll just be standing like straight like this, and then you just kind of have to like go with the flow and be natural about things. They may be talking this way, but you got to understand that they're talking to you. And other times they may be completely turned around to the side, or like maybe you'll even be turned out. I have instances where I'm like and this is because for me talking face to face is like such a thing because of how I was raised. So I'll be talking to them this way and I'll be saying the yada yada yada, and they'll just be completely like this, and so we're just like talking like this, and it looks crazy, absolutely crazy. And when I look back on it, I'm like, that's probably why a lot of men feel like they're being talked at, because like when they talk to other men, it's not like you're talking like this, you're talking, well, some men do. Obviously everybody's different, everybody acts differently, but they don't like talk face to face unless they like really like know each other and they have like a relationship and things such as that. If not, they're usually like talking like this, just like straight forward, relaxing, cruising, whatever. So that was something that I wasn't expecting, that did take some getting used to. So just be aware that that might happen. Don't take it personally. They're not like trying to offend you or anything like that. And on that note, let me give you some tips that I think helped me a lot, that may be able to help you kind of begin to more navigate these social interactions and kind of get a feel for the playing field that you will be going into. Number one, please do not take things personally. Like a lot, especially if you're around younger guys, a lot of like the relationship building is based off of like teasing, pulling pranks, sarcasm. It's just like all around kind of like everything's always kind of jokey. So like they may be like, you can't yada yada yada, but know that they're not being completely serious. Now, you have to, this falls on you. You have to be able to read the room enough where you can tell whether they're actually being serious and like actually trying to offend you, or if they're just like joking. And there's obviously a big difference. So that's one of the things that I would definitely recommend. Just don't take things super personal. Be chill, go with the flow. And that actually goes into my second thing. Number 2, which feeds off of tip number 1, is go with the flow. Like, if, you know, like, just follow the natural conversation. Just kind of like say what, it's not like obviously say what you want and be offensive, but like say what you want, be blunt. Like most men are going to be blunt about how they feel and like what they want to talk about, but also like understand that like if they're not giving a response, that's because they don't want to give a response. And so change the topic, go with the flow. And you'll like, it's guys, it's no different than building a relationship with any other person. Like if you populate Reddit a lot and you like a good place to see what male interactions probably look like r/memes. If you see how like the jokes are made and how people just kind of go with the flow and say kind of what they want and then like bounce back off of each other, that's kind of literally how like real life interactions are. So like it's like a whole thing. But also like normal relationships with any person, there are going to be different levels of kind of like comfortability with that person. So like you may be talking about more intimate things or whatnot. Like I know for me, me and this other guy that I work with, we're very comfortable talking about like our relationships. But also that's because of the guys that I work with. Me and him are the only ones that are relatively young. He's like only in his 30s, and like we are the only ones that are like in a long-term relationship. So like talking about those things are like what we kind of do, as well as we both have an interest in fitness. So you could just kind of fill out the things that you're comfortable talking about with each person. I wouldn't talk about those things with most of the other guys that I work with because we don't have that relationship. It's like a normal, I can't say it any other way. They're like normal relationships. You find things that you talk about with one person, you find things that you talk about with another person. Regardless of who you are with or where you are going or like what you're doing, always be yourself, because if you're trying to force an identity or a type of personality or a type of persona onto these people, they're gonna know that it's not real. Like you just have a feeling of when people aren't being real with you. And so if you're forcing that persona, you're gonna create fake relationships. And that may cause people to not be as real with you or as vulnerable, which can lead to a lack of relationships being built, or it can be just like they don't talk to you because some people just don't want to deal with fake people. Always, guys, be yourself, be true to who you are, be true to your beliefs, values. If anything, that is always what's going to help you create relationships, whether it's with a woman or a man or any person in between. Obviously, like if you're just being who you are, you're going to bring people who like who you are, and therefore you will have more stronger, in-depth, and just all around satisfying relationships. So be yourself. What more can I say to that? Like, there's nothing else to say. Like, those are literally the 3 tips. Those, like, building a relationship, whether it's in male culture or female culture, is actually relatively the similar. It's just communication. Communication is always key. Communication is always key.